Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. Exploiting this opportunity, the Judgment Sword fell from the sky and slashed straight towards Shusansha. It was extremely terrifying as it unleashed its full strength. The golden Xuanwu had been dyed black by the power of darkness. When the Judgment Sword turned into a beam of golden light that descended from the sky, the power of darkness started to rumble. The clash between darkness and light would never be peaceful. The terrifying strength that was unleashed was sufficient to make anyone afraid. Even Jiang Nan started to tense up, and subconsciously took a few steps forward. Given their current levels, they couldn't withhold too much of their power, even if they did withhold some. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to fully unleash their potential. Jiang Nan wasn't confident that Shusansha could block the Judgment Sword. Without being able to use his mysterious underworld displacement, Shusansha could only use his defensive strength to resist the attack. Could he possibly resist it? Gold and black were about to clash. However, it was at this moment that something weird appeared. When the huge golden sword clashed with the black seemed to turn illusory for a moment. Following this, the aura of light on the huge golden sword met the power of darkness and exploded. The tremendous boom reverberated, the Judgment Sword unleashing great power at the core of the Xuanwu domain. Even the sword was affected to some extent, and shook tremendously at the center of the explosion. However, with the protection of the power of light, it wasn't harmed too much. Even so, Ji Juechen's soul power was almost entirely drained after this attack. Just as everyone was worried about Shusansha, they were shocked to see a trace of gold silently appearing at an edge of the Xuanwu domain. When it first appeared, it wasn't very evident. However, the golden light soon shone brightly. Wasn't this the golden Xuanwu? The Xuanwu domain disappeared in the next instant, but the golden Xuanwu surfaced at its edge immediately. After that, blinding golden light was suddenly released from the golden Xuanwu. The red snake that had always been attached to the golden Xuanwu's body turned into a beam of red light and fused with the golden Xuanwu. A fierce blood-red aura immediately spread out. It was Shusanshi's martial soul true body, the turtle god's strike. The golden Xuanwu was like a huge glowing ball charging straight towards the huge sword that had been greatly drained of soul power by its previous attack. All Ji Juechen could do was turn his sword around and point the tip accurately towards the golden Xuanwu. At the same time, he tried his best to summon his soul power. Ah! Jing Ziyan exclaimed. Everyone could tell that Ji Juechen would be unable to block Shusanshi's attack, no matter what. Gold light flashed past, and the sword was completely fine. The turtle god's strike suddenly fell when it was around 3 meters away from the sword, where it struck the ground. The ground shook, and even the small stream beside Huo Yuhao and the others started to ripple a little. Suddenly, jets of water shot out from the stream, and sparks started to fly from the bonfire boiling the water. The pot of fish soup flew up into the air, along with the fish inside. Fortunately, Huo Yuhao's reactions were very quick. He waved his right hand and grabbed the boiling metal pot. At the same time, his figure flashed, and he managed to prevent any soup or fish from dropping to the ground. No soup was spilled at all. The other metal pot that was filled with marinated fish also flew up, but there wasn't any water inside. He only needed to catch the fish inside. Nan Qiuqiu seemed to be amused as she looked at Jing Ziyan beside her. She said, "Indeed, one feels pain over her own man." Jing Ziyan's face turned red, and she laughed. "Sister Qiuqiu, you should find someone who will make you feel pain, too." Nan Qiuqiu stuck out her tongue and ran to one side to help Huo Yuhao control the bonfire. The sword turned back into Ji Juechen when it landed on the ground. He looked a little pale, but stood firmly. He turned around to look at the golden Xuanwu behind him. Ever since Ji Juechen had come to the Tang sect, he had never stopped finding Shusansha to spar with. Shusansha was a defense-type soul master, which meant that he was able to last longer in a fight. However, there was still a gap between Shusansha and Ji Juechen's cultivations. Ji Juechen's sword was extremely sharp, and Shusansha would always be on the losing end. He had lost so many times such that he would hide whenever he saw Ji Juechen. Things had finally gone his way today. Shusansha managed to defeat Ji Juechen through the golden tortoise that he had fused with. How did you manage to get away? Ji Juechen furrowed his brow slightly. He was still thinking about their last collision. If it were any other soul master, Ji Juechen would immediately be frowned upon if he dared to ask about the other soul master's ultimate move. However, everyone from the Tang sect was like brothers. While Shusansha always hid from Ji Juechen, he still admired his focus greatly. The golden tortoise is 100,000-year soul beast, and it gave me a trunk bone. Earlier, I used one of the 2 soul skills of its trunk bone, golden tortoise molting. By using that soul skill, I'm able to overcome all problems and teleport myself to any specific spot in my Xuanwu domain. It's much more effective than instant teleportation. However, it costs 1/3 of my soul power every time I use it. I am drained a lot by using it. Oh? Ji Juechen acknowledged his words and turned around before walking towards the side of the river. Shusansha was a little depressed as he said, "Hey, can't you just praise me for being strong?" Ji Juechen turned his head to look at him and said, "We'll decide whether you're strong after we fight again." Am I digging my own grave? Shusansha looked at Ji Juechen and was completely speechless. The 2 of them returned to the side of the river, and Jiang Nan was the first to run over. She pulled Shusanshi's ears. "Why are you showing off? You still smash the ground. Do you have too much energy and nowhere to use it? See how bad you shook this place. Don't eat later. Starve. I'm afraid you can't fully use all your energy." Shusansha coughed. It wasn't intentional. Huo Yuhao chortled. "I agree with 4th senior's opinion. 3rd senior, you should be starved." The bonfire had already been messed up and had to be reassembled. The pot of fish soup that was supposed to be done soon had to be reboiled as well. Shusansha wore a toady smile on his face. "Don't. I have waited so long for my little junior to cook. How can I not taste his cooking? Come, everyone move away. I'll perform some chores." As he spoke, he quickly leaped over and helped Huo Yuhao with the bonfire. Tang Wong stood by the side of the river and watched as everyone joked around. She was a little dazed when she saw how happy everyone was. Although she felt that she didn't blend in with them, she discovered that she rather liked such an atmosphere. The bonfire was soon reassembled, and the fish soup was cooking once again. Due to Shusanshi's earlier mistake, he offered to watch the fish soup. On the other side, the grilled fish were almost completely marinated. Huo Yuhao assembled the branches that Yigai had washed earlier, and stacked them above the bonfire on the other side before starting to grill the fish. At the same time, he took some dry rations over and started to heat them up. All of them were very young, and thus it was natural that ladies were given the first priority. As the fragrance of the grilled fish diffused in the air, the first to start digging in became a huge topic of debate. Everyone formed a circle as they sat beside the fires. Jiang Nan laughed. "The grilled fish smell really good. Who's going to start first?" As they were limited by the conditions, they could only grill 1 fish at a time. Huo Yuhao didn't choose to grill more than 1 fish at once in order to ensure that they were of the utmost quality. If he grilled too many fish at once, there might be some flaws in his control of the fire, as well as the seasoning of the fish. Jing Ziyan laughed and said, "The youngest can eat first. We should go by age. I'm the oldest. I'll go last." Jiang Nan said, "All right. I'm 20 years and 4 months old. What about the rest?" She looked at Tang Wong, Yi Gai, and Nan Qiuqiu. Yi Gai was a little depressed as she said, "I'm already 22. Nan Qiuqiu's eyes brightened. "I'm 20 years and 3 months old. Ha ha, Sister Nan, I'm younger than you." Jiang Nan pursed her lips and laughed. She looked at Tang Wong and asked, "Wutong, what about you?" Tang Wong was stunned for a moment and said, "All of you can eat first." She wanted to say that she wasn't from the Tang sect, and she was fine with some dry rations. However, the fragrance of the grilled fish was simply too strong. She couldn't control her appetite, and ended up swallowing her words. Jiang Nan laughed. No, we've agreed that the youngest should eat first. Wutong, how old are you? Ji Juechen was calm as he sat to one side, not making a sound. Shu Sansha would occasionally glance over, and his smile seemed to be filled with meaning. Nan is indeed very supportive. She's helping little Junior without being obvious. The rest didn't know how old Wutong was, but how could he not know? Huo Yuhao had mentioned before that Tang Wutong was Wang Donga. Tang Wutong replied, I'm 18 years old. Yes, she was 18 years old. In terms of age, she was slightly younger than Huo Yuhao. Nan Qiuqiu was depressed as she slapped her forehead. You're so young. How did you manage to develop so well? Tang Wutong's face turned red as she glared at Qiuqiu. She thought to herself, these people from the Tang sect act like hooligans. For some reason, she seemed to have ostracized both Nan Qiuqiu and Yi Gai. They always wore a weird expression when they looked at her. The weird looks that they gave her made her extremely uncomfortable. I've finished grilling the fish. Who's going to eat first? Huo Yuhao asked. Jiang Nan pursed her lips at Tang Wutong, who was still slightly shy. She even seemed a little young and ignorant as her face turned even redder, accentuated by the bonfire. When Huo Yuhao turned his attention to her, he appeared to be in a daze. Tang Wutong stood up and walked up to Huo Yuhao before extending her hand. Huo Yuhao passed her a grilled fish and a baked bun. Tang Wutong couldn't help but say, fragrant. There was a fresh smell that came from the grilled fish, while the aroma of heated sesame came from the baked bun. Both were extremely tempting. Thank you, Tang Wutong nodded at Huo Yuhao before turning around and walking away. She returned to where she was sitting and began to eat as the rest watched. She took a small bite of the baked bun first. The crispy bun made a slight cracking sound as she bit into it. The fragrance from the bun, mixed with the crumbs that fell off as she bit into it and its elevated temperature, instantly tickled her olfactory senses and taste buds. Tang Wutong opened her small mouth slightly and couldn't help but exclaim, oh, it's so fragrant. This was indeed the best baked bun she had ever eaten. The baked bun cooled down slightly in her mouth, and she gobbled it up in 3 bites. It was warm and fragrant, and she felt indescribably pleased. After this, she took a bite of the grilled fish. The crispy skin of the fish was slightly salty, which complemented its natural freshness. As she bit into the skin, juices from the fish filled her mouth, along with the meat. The fresh taste engulfing her taste buds caused Tang Wutong's eyes to brighten immediately. Delicious. This is too delicious. How can it possibly be so delicious? Of course, Tang Wutong didn't know how much effort Huo Yuhao had put into this grilled fish and baked bun. Huo Yuhao had overheard when Jiang Nan was ordering them earlier. If Wang Donga was the first to eat, he would naturally put in much more effort. In order to make the taste of the fish and baked bun as fine as he could, he engaged his spiritual power in its totality state to completely understand the internal structure of both the fish and baked bun. During the process of grilling the fish and baking the bun, he was so precise in his control that it felt as if he were creating a soul tool. Although Tang Wutong stopped praising him, her incessant chewing and swallowing speed still left the rest of the ladies extremely tempted. Huo Yuhao started to move faster. He quickly grilled the fish and baked the buns before delivering them to the rest of them. Very soon, everyone formed a circle and delightfully enjoyed their meal. The person who had caused the problems earlier naturally became the last to eat, along with Huo Yuhao. Yi Gai sat to one side of the fire that they had made and was enjoying her third grilled fish. The look on her face was very indifferent, but on closer look, one could see the slight sadness in her eyes. Perhaps it was because of Huo Yuhao's attentiveness and yearning, but Yi Gai could sense the love when she ate the grilled fish. However, this love wasn't and would never be directed at her. Nan Qiuqiu was much more direct. Although she wasn't as acute as Yi Gai, she was still silently whispering to Yi Gai as she was eating, I've never seen him so nice when he was cooking for us before. However, This fellow's culinary skills are pretty good. Even if he couldn't become a soul master, he would still fare well as a chef. Jing Ziyan was sitting on the other side of Nan Qiuqiu. After hearing her words, she couldn't help but chuckle and said, "You are actually demanding that the future hope of Shrek Academy and the founder of the Spirit Pagoda become a chef for someone else. I can't believe you just thought of that idea." Huo Yuhao walked over after grilling the remaining few fish. After hearing Jing Ziyan's words, he couldn't help but laugh. "It's great to be a chef. When I cook, I actually feel at peace, which is very rare. When I finish what I want to do in the future, I'll find a peaceful and beautiful place and open my own restaurant there. I want to live a simple, farming life with the person I love there. Behind the restaurant, there will be a plot of land specially for growing crops. I'll also raise some livestock. Why are all of you looking at me like that?" Before he even finished speaking, he discovered that the way everyone was looking at him was very weird. A member of the Sea Gods Pavilion actually wanted to find a place to open a restaurant. Just at this moment, Ji Juechen suddenly spoke up. "It sounds rather good." Huo Yuhao laughed. "Brother Ji, shall we do it together?" Ji Juechen shook his head. "Nope." Shu Sanxia looked very anxious and said to Huo Yuhao, "Little Junior, don't say that in front of Elder Xian. Otherwise, he'll fight all out against you. He's still hoping that you'll become the future master of the Sea Gods Pavilion." Huo Yuhao suddenly looked very grim. To him, there were many responsibilities that he couldn't avoid. His fish soup was almost done. Huo Yuhao added some seasoning before scooping bowls of fish soup for everyone. He sat down right beside Tang Wutong. Naturally, everyone ceded this seat to him. As Tang Wutong was the first to eat, she ate quite a lot for grilled fish and 2 baked buns. Right now, she had half a baked bun in her hand. "Oh, I'm so full. I can't even move anymore." Tang Wutong looked very content as she received a bowl of soup from Huo Yuhao. "I can help you eat that baked bun," Huo Yuhao whispered softly to her. Tang Wutong suddenly looked very cautious and glared at him as she twisted her head. "Don't even think of taking advantage of me. Even if I'm completely stuffed, I will finish it." Huo Yuhao smiled and replied, "Don't waste it. Why don't I tell you about a story about a baked bun, before you decide whether I should finish it for you?" "A story about a baked bun?" Tang Wutong was doubtful as she looked at him. Once, there was a 5-year-old boy. He was extremely scrawny. He and his mother only had each other, and no one else. His mother relied on her peasant income to bring him up. In order to survive, his mother would wash clothes outside even during winter. Her hands were full of wounds. The mother loved her son a lot. She always mentioned that he was the only one she had in her life. One day, the sky had already turned dark, but the mother was excited as she rushed back home. Because of the tough life she had, she hardly smiled. However, she was extremely happy that day. This was because she was given a baked bun by a chef in the kitchen that she worked in after she finished her shift that day. The bun had just been baked and was piping hot and fragrant. When she thought of how she finally had something fresh for her son to eat, she was especially delighted. To keep the baked bun from getting cold, the mother wrapped her body around the baked bun. When she finally retrieved the bun for her son, her chest was already burning red. At that point, the little boy was very young and ignorant. He only knew how to gobble up the piping hot baked bun. It was extremely fragrant and tasty. Tang Wutong was in a daze as she looked at Huo Yuhao and muttered, "Why are you saying all this? I was still enjoying my food, but you had to make me feel uncomfortable." Huo Yuhao revealed a slight smile on his face, "Because that boy was me. Just take it as if I'm obsessed about baked buns." Tang Wutong was astonished and immediately turned to face Huo Yuhao. She saw that he was smiling, but there was a sense of bitterness in his smile. The look in his eyes had also turned ethereal. "Take it." Tang Wutong passed the baked bun to Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao received the baked bun and smiled at her. He seemed to have regained his focus. Tang Wutong suddenly said seriously, "Why do I feel like you've told me this story before?" "What?" Huo Yuhao was the shocked one right now. He was a little stunned as he looked at Tang Wong. There was a look of disbelief on his face. You've heard this story before. This was his second time telling this story of a baked bun, and he had told it to Wang Chua the first time. Even Wang Donga had never heard this story before. How was it possible? Wang Chua had already sacrificed herself. Furthermore, Tang Wutong's aura and touch were identical to Wang Donga's. Huo Yuhao suddenly felt a little confused as he looked at Tang Wutong in a daze. Are you going to eat it? Tang Wutong's face turned slightly red. Okay, I'll eat it. Huo Yuhao quickly reoriented himself and took a bite of the baked bun. Although it was no longer hot, it was still crispy. Huo Yuhao felt warm inside even though he was still slightly out of sorts. Tang Wutong turned around and started to drink her soup. She stopped entertaining him and was equally as confused. Everyone had a good rest during dinner. Although the sky was already dark, they were all full of energy when they resumed their journey in the direction of the Mingdo mountain range. Even though they moved on foot, they only took 2 hours to get close to the front lines. Huo Yuhao naturally knew where the White Tiger Duke was stationed. When they were about 15 kilometers away from the military base, he slowed his pace in order to avoid any misunderstandings. The 8 of them advanced slowly. Huo Yuhao and Shu Sanxia were in front, while Ji Juechen was at the back, guarding the 5 ladies between them. Huo Yuhao had already unleashed his spiritual detection, and quickly covered the surrounding space with his spiritual power. After a while, Huo Yuhao stopped and announced, "They are here." Not far away from them, some figures quickly appeared. Even in the dark, they were very easy to see, because their soul rings were shining extremely brightly. These soul masters were very quick. They quickly arrived in front of the 8 intruders and half encircled them. There were 10 of them. This was the structure of a small team among soul engineer legions. In this small team, there was 1 officer, who had 5 shining soul rings. The rest only had 3 soul rings. There were different types of small teams in Soul Engineer Legions, too. Apart from the officers, the rest of the members had to have similar cultivation levels. This was done so that they would be more united when carrying out missions. This small team was led by a Soul King. The overall fighting strength of this small team was about equal to an army of 500 ordinary soldiers, and that was being only Soul Masters. If they were equipped with Soul tools, their fighting strength would be even greater. Who are you guys? There's an important military zone ahead of you. Show me your IDs. The Soul King officer looked to be around 40 years old and sounded very mature and steady. He immediately made his demands upon seeing Huo Yuhao and the rest. Even though they were all very young, this Soul King didn't lower his guard at all. It was in the middle of the night, and they were not far from the front lines. What was a bunch of young people doing here? This wasn't some kind of tourist destination. Who didn't know that things were slightly tense over at the northwestern end of the empire? Huo Yuhao smiled slightly and replied, "Sir, we're from Shrek Academy. We were ordered by our academy to reinforce the Northwestern Field Army." Shrek Academy's reputation was extremely prestigious. After hearing these few words, the middle-aged Soul King and the Soul Masters under him were all moved. Shrek Academy was a holy ground to Soul Masters. It was the dream of many young Soul Masters to be educated at Shrek Academy. You're from Shrek Academy. Do you have any proof? The Soul King's expression softened somewhat. He took a few steps forward, but the rest of the Soul Masters had yet to move, continuing to surround the few of them. They were highly trained, and wouldn't be easily swayed by Huo Yuhao's words. Huo Yuhao nodded and retrieved the letter that Elder Xian had given to him. He said, "This is a letter written by the Master of the Sea God's Pavilion, Elder Xian, to the White Tiger Duke. Can you bring us to meet the White Tiger Duke?" "Oh right. I'm also classmates with the son of the White Tiger Duke, Dai Yueheng. He can also verify my identity." Huo Yuhao didn't pass the letter over, even though he was holding onto it. A Soul King, who was in charge of patrolling the area naturally wasn't qualified to read the letter. He hesitated for a moment before saying, "All right, follow me then." After he finished speaking, he turned around quickly. Huo Yuhao gestured and led his teammates along with him. The other 9 soul masters of the small team separated to open a path for them. It was only after they had all passed that these soul masters turned around and followed them, watching their movements closely. The Soul King only waited for Huo Yuhao to catch up with him before walking side by side with him. He didn't have any psychological pressure, bringing the 8 of them back to the base. There are thousands of soul masters stationed at the Frontline camp, and they are all very strong. How can these 8 possibly affect them? Furthermore, these young chaps have to go through many obstacles before they can meet the White Tiger Duke. From a distance, they could see the Northwestern Field Army. The view was majestic. When they came to the entrance of the camp, soldiers immediately came up to receive them. The leader of the small team verified his identity before the soldier returned to his post. Wait a minute. I'll go and report this matter. Later, there will be some people coming to bring all of you in. This letter. Huo Yuhao said, I'm sorry, but I have to personally pass this letter to the White Tiger Duke. Otherwise, you can also ask Senior Dai Yueheng to pass it to his father. All right, please wait then. The Soul King didn't continue to pose problems, but instead instructed his own team members to wait before he quickly entered the camp. Although he didn't think that Huo Yuhao and the others could do anything, he didn't dare to delay matters concerning Shrek Academy. He needed to report this matter to the top brass immediately. Very quickly, more than 10 people came out from the camp, though Huo Yuhao only knew the person leading this group of people. This person wasn't Dai Yueheng, but the princess of the Star Luo Empire, JoJo. Princess JoJo is personally here to receive us. This is a little too much. Even though she's not the main decision-maker in the military, she's still a member of the imperial family. Furthermore, she has real power in the Star Luo Empire. When Princess JoJo saw Huo Yuhao, she was also stunned, and more than a little surprised. At first, the Soul King didn't think a bunch of young soul masters could do anything. However, Princess JoJo begged to differ. She had personally witnessed the miracles that Huo Yuhao had performed before. In addition, Huo Yuhao's reputation had grown significantly following the appearance of the Spirit Pagoda. There weren't many people who knew him personally, but many people knew his name. For those soul masters who were more resourceful and aware in the Doluo continent, they most certainly knew of his existence. JoJo was also followed by soul masters. 2 of them were elders, and one of the elders was the Big Dipper Doluo. The other elder, who was with the Big Dipper Doluo, was obviously a titled Doluo as well. JoJo had been in a bad mood these past few days. Ever since her mistake led to the death of many high-tier soul masters, she passed all authority over the soul masters to the White Tiger Duke. Whether it was her or the current Star Luo Empire's emperor, they trusted the White Tiger Duke greatly. They knew that Dai Hao wouldn't do anything against the empire, even if he was given great authority. However, who didn't want to earn merits? JoJo had a deep desire for power, which was why she had always expressed her wish to control a Soul Engineer Legion. However, reality proved that she was inexperienced on a battlefield. The huge losses had made her doubt herself, and she had no choice but to pass all her power over to the White Tiger Duke. She had been very reclusive over the past few days. She hardly gave any suggestions, even though she participated in every meeting. Her presence today was a coincidence. The officer of the small team that Huo Yuhao and the others had bumped into was under JoJo's command. She was immediately notified of the arrival of people from Shrek Academy, given that it was extremely important information. She was startled when she heard the words, Shrek Academy, and immediately delighted. Even though she heard that there were only a few young people, she wasn't affected. Over the past few years, the Star Luo Empire had been doing its best to build up a good relationship with Shrek, with the goal of receiving the support of Shrek Academy at critical times. Given that youngsters from Shrek Academy had arrived, didn't it mean that the more experienced and stronger ones were also coming? Furthermore, the younger Soul Masters from Shrek Academy were different from young Soul Masters in the outside world. There were many talents in Shrek Academy. For example, Zhong Lishuan was only slightly past 30 years of age, but but she was already on the edge of becoming a titled Doluo. Moreover, JoJo controlled the intelligence department of the Star Luo Empire, and was clearly aware of the resources pumped into Soul Tools by Shrek Academy in recent years. With the arrival of reinforcements from Shrek Academy, they would receive massive help, even though it wasn't enough to completely alter the situation. As a result, she didn't dare to delay, even given her status, and went out to welcome them personally. She had seen all the younger generation's talents from Shrek Academy. In addition, she even brought 2 titled Doluo out with her. Even if there were any changes, they would be well equipped to handle them. When these 2 titled Doluo and the other Soul Masters from the Star Luo Empire, who all had at least 7 rings, saw JoJo quickening her pace, they were all stunned. While those people are from Shrek Academy, aren't they all just youngsters? Why is Her Highness? Huo Yuhao, it's actually you. JoJo's words astonished all the Soul Masters from the Star Luo Empire. Huo Yuhao. Hearing this name shocked them. He didn't just lead Shrek Academy and the Tang sect to successive victories in the Elite Youth Soul Master Tournament. His establishment of the Spirit Pagoda also made him an extremely notable figure in the world of Soul Masters. While he had emerged as the champion in the Elite Youth Soul Master Tournament twice, that was only a big thing among the younger generation of Soul Masters. The existence of spirits affected the entire world of Soul Masters. It might even influence the bigger picture in the future world of Soul Masters. The various Soul Masters quickened their footsteps to keep up with JoJo. They wanted to get a glimpse of the person who had established the Spirit Pagoda. Your Highness. Huo Yuhao quickly took a few steps forward and greeted JoJo. He smiled at her and nodded slightly to acknowledge her. Even though he was from the Star Luo Empire, he was a member of the Sea Gods Pavilion. Even in the face of a princess, he wouldn't greet her in an extravagant manner. That was just how powerful Shrek Academy was. I didn't expect you to be here. After seeing Huo Yuhao, JoJo had never felt that he was so amiable before. His eyes were gleaming brightly at this moment. Nan Chocho couldn't help but mutter as she stood behind the rest, is this guy some kind of gem? Why is he able to draw attention everywhere he goes? Yi Gai laughed gently and replied, he's not the one attracting all the attention. It's his abilities. Huo Yuhao said to JoJo, Your Highness, we are here under instructions from the Sea Gods Pavilion. We hope that we can help the Empire resist its enemies. This is the letter that Elder Xian wrote to the White Tiger Duke. There was nothing to hide from JoJo. Furthermore, she had personally come to welcome them. She was extremely sincere. JoJo received the letter, but didn't open it. She smiled and said, All right, I'll pass this to him later. Please, come in. All of you are distinguished guests of the Star Luo Empire. As she spoke, she gestured to them. Huo Yuhao didn't stand on ceremony. They had rushed over, and everyone was very tired now. It was better for them to rest early. JoJo and Huo Yuhao walked forward together without distinction. Obviously, she regarded Huo Yuhao as an equal in status to her. The Soul Masters of the Star Luo Empire naturally followed the rest of those from the Tang sect and Tang Wutong into the camp. The Big Dipper Doluo and the other titled Doluo looked at each other, seeing each other's astonishment when their gazes met. They were both titled Doluo, and naturally could tell that every person from Shrek Academy was extraordinary. They are all at least Soul Emperors. Furthermore, a few of them are even Soul Sages. It seems that they are not even 20 years old. This is incredible. What method does Shrek Academy use to nurture such geniuses? They were most shocked by Huo Yuhao. He seemed even younger, but there was no way they could see through him. Given that they were titled Doluo, it was completely unbelievable that they couldn't see through a young Soul Master who wasn't even 20 years old. JoJo brought Huo Yuhao and the others directly into her own tent. Even though she wasn't a commander, she still held an important position in the military. Some people immediately brought some fruits and snacks over. After bringing Huo Yuhao and the rest into the tent, JoJo immediately commanded someone to fetch the White Tiger Duke. Just this simple action of hers showed how highly she regarded Huo Yuhao. Everyone from Shrek was also shocked by how well JoJo treated Huo Yuhao. She was a princess from the strongest empire in the Doluo continent. This video will end here.